her deliberation and presentation will be types and writing of research articles and papers. Before beginning this session, the initial session of the day, I would just like to give a brief profile of Dr. Upasana Sharma. We have already become familiar with Dr. Sharma. So Upasana Sharma is currently working as Associate Professor of the Department of Sociology, Dibrugarh University, and she's currently the HOD of the department as well. She joined Dibrugarh University in 2017, and prior to that, she had experiences of working in colleges like Margate College from 2008 to 17, and she also worked as the Faculty of Sociology in JB Law College as well from 2007 to 8. And she also worked as a medical social officer at ICMR Dibrugarh from 2004 to 2007. She did one ICSSR sponsored research program on impact of government health schemes on health seeking behavior of tribal women of Assam from 2018 to 2021. And the project was submitted in March 2021. Earlier, she also completed one minor research project on women and occupational and health hazards in northeastern coalfields, Margate, Assam, sponsored by UGC in 2014. She has published various research papers in reputed journals and authored 2 books so far, and carrying various responsibilities in different academic bodies of Dibrugarh University. Her area of interest is social psychology, sociological theory, health and gender, political sociology, education and society. Currently, she is supervising 4 PhD and 2 MPhil scholars from the department. Okay, so it is our honor and privilege to have Dr. Upasana Sharma. So she will just present the first session of the day on the topic types and writing of research articles and papers. I hope that this will be a very enriching experience for all the participants. So may I have the pleasure of welcoming ma'am to just give her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Am I audible to all?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you are very much audible.
And you can see the video also?
Yes,
yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's good. Actually, yesterday I joined from mobile. Today only from the desktop I'm joining. So I was also confused that whether it will work or not, but it's okay. Thank you for this wonderful introduction to me. And yes, I got the feedback that the yesterday class was very nice and everybody participated. And a lot of interactions were also taking place. And actually, this was the idea before when we started to arrange this program. We actually wanted that people will interact and this will really benefit them. And I'm very happy that these things are happening like we imagined earlier that this is going to be happen. Thank you for inviting me to deliver today's lecture. So today, first of all, a warm welcome to every participants, every faculty members, research scholars, students, independent researchers, my colleagues, everyone who are joining this FDP. We are very thankful to you all also for sparing your valuable time, spending valuable time with us. So as you know, our today's session will be on structure of academic writing and research paper, types of research paper. So I actually prepared one PPT, but then I decided not to stick to that PPT, because if I will just start presenting PPT, it will be like class, like most of the class that we are doing during this online, this pandemic session, sharing PPT and giving lecture. So I just decided to go with the flow. So within there will be break, and you can also participate, and you can ask me something and I will try to give answers. So in that way, it will be an interaction, two-way interaction that I decided. Anyway, so today's class presentation will be on academic structure of academic writing and research paper. So what I want to tell you is that we all know that what is actually academic writing, right? So when you ask me what is academic writing, I can tell you that this is a style of expression of you as a researcher, of you as an academic person, who will express their idea, their viewpoint within a particular intellectual boundary, or within a particular discipline specific areas of expertise. So two things you need to remember here: this is your style of expression as a researcher or as a academia, and you need to confine yourself within the intellectual boundary and discipline specific expertise of your area. So it needs to be very concise, clear, and focused, and structured, and also backed by the evidences. Why I am telling you focused and structured? Because your purpose is to aid the reader's understanding from your expertised area, right? So definitely it will be a very formal tone. It will have a very formal tone and style. And rather not to be very complex. It shouldn't be very complex, but you can use the vocabulary, or you can use the various concepts that are specified within your areas of expertise. Rather than using the vague language or the popular language, you need to stick to your domain of discipline. Now, when we talk about academic writing, many things may include, like starting from a assignment submitted by a student, that could be also academic writing. Then there are reports, research reports that we submit somewhere. Then there are project proposals, proposals of various PhD synopsis writing, dissertation, then thesis preparation. This is also a description of something that you have done, some survey or some experimentation or your research work that you present in a form of a thesis. Or it could be a very formal academic essay, or presenting a particular report on certain reviewed articles and all that. And we have the research papers, review papers, research notes, etc. So it's not possible to cover everything in one class. So I just decided not to include here how to write a research proposal, how to write a project report, prepare a project report, and PhD synopsis. Rather, I will stick my class to research paper domain. So research paper, various kinds of papers that we can write. And of course, what are to be remembered, what are to be followed while writing research papers. So that part will be highlighted today. Now, in short, I just want to share with you, when we talk about academic, so what points you need to actually remember, or what points you need to focus actually. One thing I want to tell you that you are going to, when it's academic writing, remember that you are going to demonstrate the understanding on a particular issue, particular topic, particular phenomena, particular event, or particular research problem. Okay, and while going to start with that, you will be informed by the academic literature and debates and various kinds of informations that are available on the subject matter picked up by you. So the literature will inform you how to interpret the concept at the very beginning. So when, suppose if we divide it just simply in 3 parts: introduction, the body, main body part, and conclusion. So all that conceptual clarity, the use your perception on that particular issue, then the explanation on a broader context as well as your local context, why you picked up that issue, why you feel that it's significant to be researched, or what is the importance of that particular topic that you are introducing in your paper. So that part will be, while writing that part, the literature and debates going on that particular subject matter will help you. So it starts with demonstrating the particular understanding of on a particular topic, and that starts with your interpretation of the concepts, your perceptions on your concept, and your descriptions, your explanations that you derived from the large academic literature and debates going on that subject matter. So this is the first point that I want you to remember while going to start the academic writing. Then second point, we all know that later on I will go to the research paper part. This is just, I'm giving you a brief idea on how to go with the structure of writing academically. So next, what you need to remember is that you should have a clear interpretation of the key concepts to be used by you in your writing. So those key concepts should be defined within your specific discipline area. It should be defined with your domain of expertise area. So you cannot use you cannot use just some vague notion or vague meaning. Rather, it should be very clearly defined, and the accurate description of the issue, the particular problem or particular issue picked up by you. Try to give an accurate description of that, and the underlying assumptions, the historical developments of that issue, etc., will automatically come with that part when you introduce your research problem with the reader. Okay, so it's a kind of, I can say that reciprocal relationship between issues and its broader context. So one particular problem, when you are introducing the local level, at national level, and at broader context, global level, how the issue is based on, it is just defined by the reciprocal relationship between these 3 contexts: local, national, broader. That I think that should come to the knowledge of your reader. So definitely academic writing, if you ask me what are the characteristics of academic writing, or how it would be, definitely I can say that it's a formal writing where normally we use a third person rather than first person perspective usually. But yes, you can use first person perspective also when you add certain narratives, certain case studies when you present in your writing, then definitely you can use the first person perspective. So begin with a clear focus on the research problem under investigation, and while going to do that, precise word choice. Just stick to precise word choice. It shouldn't be ambiguous. And like specialist languages that we adopt in our profession, like in sociology, we have certain terminology that we use within our domain. So in the same way, in law, in medicine, in the other subjects, you have those specific precise word choices. So that should be always there. Then it is also designed to convey agreed meaning about complex ideas or concepts for a scholarly group of experts. That means your writing should be designed in a way to convey agreed meaning. You may interpret here many information, many debatable points, many arguments you can bring from other sources, other research works, and then you can compare it with your research finding, and thereby you just try to bring out a logical conclusion, and that is to be targeted to reach a group of scholarly expertise. So this is the main thing while we're going to when going to start our academic writing, we need to remember. So as I told you, we almost know that there is a introduction part will be there, and there will be the main body where you will have those analyses. You can compare the findings with the others finding also, and you should also be very focused and connected with the paragraphs, with the in a very sequential manner to further your argument. So it should be very clear and logical response. The main body part, it should be actually, it should always respond very clearly and logically to the questions put forwarded by you. Because you have, you start your writing with a specific objective, okay? You are going to answer a specific question through your writing. So your main body part should clearly and logically respond to that particular objective or to that particular question. So you need to be very focused and connected while writing those paragraphs, and there should be a link with those paragraphs further when you are going to put further arguments on those paragraphs. And all the discussions and evidences will be mentioned in details that will also support your objectives, your questions that you put forwarded at the very beginning. So rather than include lots of points and dealing in a very superficial way, I rather suggest you to discuss and place the evidences on a few key points in details that you have mentioned already at the beginning. So till now we come to know that it's in the main body part of academic writing, there will be elaborate explanation of the central idea or argument with supporting expert sources. And it may be, later on I will tell you, it may be analytical approach you can adopt. It may be sometime argumentative also. You can, you through your writing, you can try to persuade. It may be persuasive also. So you want to persuade something that these points are more accepted rather than this. So in that way, depending on your writing style, actually, it will go on. And while going to decide what approach I'm going to adopt, your methodology, then the theoretical approaches that you decide to introduce or you decide to adopt while writing, and the methods of analyzing your data. These three things will help you in what way you are taking forward your academic writing. Okay, so we have actually classes on that. I think we have one classes on qualitative methods analysis, how to analyze the qualitative data. So definitely the analyzing method, the data analysis method will also give you the input on writing a particular research paper which is based on qualitative approaches. So in the same way in quantitative or whether you are adopting a mixed method approach, how to combine this both quantitative as well as qualitative data analysis method and how to write the academic paper, that will depend on the analysis part also, data analysis part, where you can develop certain pattern, certain thematic analysis you can adopt, or if somebody wants to present a critical explanation of something. So in that way it will go on. But the basic thing here I want to tell you is that the main body part, the body paragraphs should be, it should serve the specified purposes that you have mentioned at the initial introduction part, that I'm going to, this is my research question, or this is the objective of my paper. So this I'm going to actually shout. So this I'm going to actually find. So that logical explanation should be there in that body part. So others' ideas and others' arguments can be incorporated in the body part, main body part, and you can just make several subheadings, sub paragraphs, and in that way it will go on. So while going to tell you that what are the various approaches to academic writing, this is almost similar to writing a research paper also. So I so that it shouldn't overlap, actually the approaches I'm covering here. And while going to the research paper part, I will tell you what kind of different kinds of paper we can write, like paper based on primary data. Some papers may be review paper, some may be simply research note, etc. So here just I am telling you the various approaches. One approach while going to write academic writing, you just keep in mind that we are confining ourselves within research paper, writing research article papers. Okay, so expository kind of writing you can adopt. That means you are going to explain and expose. Okay, so when you want to convey information to your reader, and when you just want to give a better understanding on something, you can go for this kind of explanation. So this can be analytic, this where you can also compare and contrast between the findings of two different regions, two different context specific or situations. You can also present here the cause and effect analysis also. So it can be analytical, it can be comparing two background, to cross-sectional. When you adopt cross-sectional analysis, that can be also there. Then when your research design is experimental, then that cause effect, how a constant variable is going to affect the other variables, keeping one variable constant, how it is going to affect the other, or how they are related with, they are dependent on that constant variable. If this kind of experimental design you adopted, you can also pick up this kind of research paper writing, or this kind of academic writing. So here both analytical, explanatory, or comparing or analyzing the cause and effect, argumentative, or including the debate, everything will come within this kind of approach. So this is the most commonly approach that we mostly adopt. We just try to give an analytical understanding. Sometimes we compare and contrast with our finding with the others. Sometimes we try to give the cause effect analysis. Sometimes we try to analyze the whole issue at different context. When you adopt a cross-sectional viewpoint, definitely at different background, from different background you draw out the sources and you try to give the presentation on that, explanation on that. Then one may be simply descriptive. So here you want to just, as an author, you will try to give details of a particular point or a particular event or particular picture as it takes place in a particular situation. So you will provide the readers the descriptions of people, places, objects, event, through the use of your observation, through the use of by how you collect your data, through observation, case study, or even it could be survey also. So this is how you go for a descriptive. So normally describing something as it is in a particular situation. So this is this kind of writings. Here actually you are not going to focus more on cause and effect. that for this, because of this constant variable is affecting this, or because of changing in this situation, these consequences are found. So rather than going to that part, you will rather rely on the accurate information that is given to you by the respondent. And observation is a very basic tool here. So observation will help you to give a clear investigation, systematic and clear investigation of what is going on in a particular situation. So here we mostly go for case study, picking up case studies. So which will describe the characteristics of a specific subject, like a person, a group, or organization. So instead of gathering a large volume of data in descriptive writing, what we should do actually, we should identify the patterns across time or location, and on that way, after identifying the pattern, we need to collect the data within that limitation. So it studies gather detailed data to identify the characteristics of a narrowly defined actually subject. So rather than aiming to describe generalizable facts, you will more focus here on what is happening in the situation, the situational standpoint, the description of that particular event as it is happening. So rather than giving recommendation, or rather than giving the future possibility, definitely it will help you to generate certain future scope of doing research in that area. But it will rather, we will rather stick to giving on a description. So then some approaches while writing academically, your approach may be persuasive or argumentative also. So where you will convince the readers to believe that believe in a particular idea, or believe in a particular opinion, or to do a particular action. So many writings such as criticism, reviews, reaction papers, editorial writing, research proposals, these actually fall within these group. Because with this kind of writing, you just try to find out different ways of persuasion to influence readers, right? So this can be also in the same way. There will be introduction, there will be a body part where you will put all those logical arguments, and you will use very carefully chosen words and phrases, and you will, through this writing, you will just try to persuade your readers. So proposals like research proposals, or this kind of writings where you just justify your writings, that I'm going to do this because this is for this reason, this will be more appropriate, this will be more significant in this context. So in that way, this could be argumentative or persuasive, right? So normally what we do in our academic writing, right, you and me, when we go for writing our research finding, we are going to present our findings within an academic domain, we stick to analytical most of the time, right? So now analytical approach will also contain all those explanation, the persuasion part, the description part, even the critical evaluation part also. Everything will be combined in an analytical academic writing or analytical paper, right? And you can also put here the different narratives, different case studies, as I told you. And while going to talk about critical and evaluative approach, critical evaluation or critically evaluative approach, which we mostly include, it actually aims at evaluating the merits of an existing work and provides the alternatives also. So here also you can use narratives, you can use the experiences, personal experiences and ideas that are put forwarded to you by your respondent through narrations, But always remember, critical engagement or critical evaluation is not the same as disagreement. Okay, so it doesn't aim to embarrass or humiliate or seek to dominate. Rather, it will just help you to just present something in a very constructive way that may not support several evidences and several points which are put forwarded to you that are taken from other resources. So it is essentially giving a clear exposition of the argument. So you are putting the argument in a way to determine and assess the support that you claim in your paper, as well as what are the critical part of that support. That point is also going to be included by you, so that the reader will get a clear understanding of the issue. So it entails determining the truth of the premises and the validity of the argument, right? So you are clarifying and analyzing the arguments that are put forwarded to support your claim, as well as which are against your claim. So you can just tell that, you can just say it a kind of academic debates on current available literature related to your topic or related to your issue. So it means that it entails discussing the theoretical and social context in which the ideas were developed. Definitely, when you include that part, only including that part, you can develop an academic paper, academic writing. So you are just picking up the theoretical and social context of a particular idea, where the way it grows and the way it developed in different contexts, different social, cultural, and theoretical domain. So picking up that part only, you can develop one single academic paper. So it involves discussion and all the possible implication of ideas or claims that are put forwarded by different a particular theory or a particular interpretation in different social contexts, and the ideas related to that particular theoretical concept that developed throughout the ages or that developed through time and space. So it will help the reader to think critically on a particular issue. So by picking up only that part also, you can develop an academic paper. So till now, what we have discussed is that definitely we know that when academic, you are structuring your academic writing, the language is formal, then logically organized flow of ideas should be there. So the ideas, it must be cohesive and should be logically organized, right? And various parts should be connected to form a unified whole. So I'm also in the field, in this same field, and writing and developing research paper and try to publish. So you people are also going through the same processes. So normally what happens when we send a particular paper to a journal and they send it for peer review, they give us the feedback, they send us the review report. So that review report is very actually important to go through. Actually, I am so much I feel myself that I learned so that from those review reports, actually peer review reports. So many papers, in my papers, when the review came to me, I learned so many things from every review report actually. So I remember one paper where they wrote to me that it seems like you are picking up ideas from different sources and you just club it and join it and try to present in a way, but we do not find linkage among them. So I just want to share with this with you. So here, this point I need to tell you is that the narratives should have links with the sentences and the paragraphs that you put forward in the main body part, and the arguments which you are putting forward, that should also have a link with that narrative. So everything, whether you are placing a quantitative table and you need to give some supportive data in support of that table, suppose you are presenting certain case studies, certain narrative, definitely they should have a link with that particular quantitative part also. So these things you need to actually remember while writing the academic, preparing for writing something within the academic domain. And the overall tone of writing this paper, it should be like whatever narratives or whatever case study arguments, everything you are presenting in your analysis. So you just try to describe the arguments accurately without loaded or biased language. So in academic writing, the author is expected to investigate the research problem from an unbiased, from a very logical point of view, where you can state the strength of your argument, no doubtly, confidently you just put the strength of your argument, but while using the language that should be neutral, not confrontational or dismissive. Okay, so that part also you need to remember. So with this, you also come to know that the choice of words is very important. So awareness of the words you use in your writing is very important, because words that have almost the same denotation, some dictionary definition or some implied meanings are also there in different words, so they can have very different connotations when you do not know what word is to be used while describing this part or that part. So this is particularly true while going to write academic writing, because words and terminology can evolve different kind of meaning that describes a particular idea and concept and phenomenon derived from the epistemological culture of that discipline. Okay, so the concept of rational, suppose the various concept, like the concept of rational choice is there in political science, but when I pick up that concept and I try to use it within the domain of sociology, definitely I need to change something, I need to add something from the domain of sociology. That I always told my students also, that see, the same concepts can be there in different discipline, but while going to write something academically within your domain, within your expertise domain of discipline, you need to explain what you mean within the context of how that word or phrase is used within that particular discipline. So that part is also we need to actually focus on that part, right? So you come to know that well-structured paragraphs and the language that you are going to use is very important. These 2 points we need to focus. So language should be very concise, formal, and express precisely what you want it to mean. What you want to mean by using that particular language, that should be clearly understood by the reader. So rather I suggest not to use the vague expressions, or sometimes we see that our scholars, students, they just use some unspecific determinate words like super, very, so much, many, huge. So rather than writing these kind of things, go for giving specific words that will give the reader a clear understanding that, okay, you are talking of this particular group or this particular time period or this particular event, right? So in the same way, punctuation is also a part that should be also, that also covers a big part from your writing. So when you rely on precise words and appropriate language to establish the narrative tone of your work, definitely punctuation will deliberately come, like using of dash, then using of exclamation mark, then using of single quote, or using of a particular quote that you picked up from somewhere. So you need to be very clear on that. So we have a discussion on that. Probably the last class will be on referencing style, quoting, and all that. So probably the resource person will cover this part also. But within in-text reference, while giving in-text referencing, or while within that academic writing, when you are using all those hyphens or explanatory comment while writing explanatory comment in a sentence, while using hyphen or prefixes of words, etc. So you need to be very careful. Suppose take the example like the semicolon, use of semicolon. You should understand that semicolons represent a pause that is longer than a comma, but shorter than a period in a sentence. So in general, there are 4 grammatical uses of semicolon, right? When a second clause expands or explains the first clause, when the second part is going to explain your first part, then only use a semicolon. Okay, so semicolon, the use of semicolon, that means it will describe a sequence of action or different aspects of the same topic. So only then you need to put your whole thing in clause. Otherwise, it's not necessary. So in that way, you should know where to put semicolon, where to put exclamation mark, etc. Citation is a major part. That part I will not focus here much because we have a class on that. So citing resources in your paper, in text citation referencing, and also footnotes, giving footnotes or endnotes. It's very important aspect of academic writing. And while going to write, prepare your structure for academic writing, your initial stages to decide which journal you are going to choose. So according to the need of that journal, what is the requirement of that journal, you need to design your writing, that what kind of, it may be a API or Vancouver, or it may be MLA, or what kind of writing style they want from you. So that part you need to consider first. So it's very necessary that we all know that we should always acknowledge the source of any ideas, research finding, data, paraphrased or quoted text that we are used in our paper as a defense against allegations of plagiarism. So you need to give that sources. And the equally important is that your citing sources, the scholarly convention of citing sources, it will allow the readers also to identify the resources you used in your paper, in your writing, and they can also independently go and verify and assess the quality of the finding and conclusion based on your review or literature. So that part should be very clear. So this is what we call academic conventions. So it will follow the appropriate use of heading and subheading, then properly spelling out the acronyms with when you first used it in text. So when you used acronyms in your test, first to properly spell it out and define it. After that, you can write, okay, here and after it will be used like this. Okay, so avoiding any sort of popular language, colloquial language is also important, and also avoid emotive language, unsupportive declarative statements which are not supported by any evidence or any research findings. Then also try to avoid contractions and using first person and second person pronouns is only necessary when you feel the requirement, when you feel that it is necessary, then only you use it. Otherwise it will give a biased kind of message. Biasness will be there, that when you use the first person or second person pronouns in the whole writing. Okay. So you need to support your opinion with evidence from all the scholarly, academic, peer-reviewed sources, and it should be an objective stance presented in a very logical way. And the quality of the evidence you put forwarded, you cite, it will determine the strength of your paper, right? And it will determine the strength of your argument, strength of your paper, and that objectivity, when you maintain, the reader will also convince of the validity of your opinion. So in that way, you can logically structure a piece of writing. So academic writing is definitely then thesis driven. That means starting a point with a particular perspective or idea. Then yes, then you just apply the your way of investigation. You just put forward your way of investigating the whole particular perspective or whole particular issue. So establishing or proving or even disproving solutions to the research question, it is also there in the introductory introductory part. Okay, so problem statement without the research question, it doesn't qualify as academic writing. It should be always you remember that when you put the statement of a problem, your problem statement without a research question or without giving the knowledge that why it is picked up as a problem and why it should be answered, that part is always an essential part of academic writing. So simply identifying the research problem doesn't establish for the reader how you will contribute to solving the problem. So how you are going to find out the solution, how you are going to contribute to solving the problem, that aspect should be also there in your methodology part. Okay, so you are going to give a critical understanding, analytical, the data methods of analyzing everything, the people, setting, material, all these methods of gathering data will help the reader to have a better understanding on what you are actually going to do and how you are going to logically bring a conclusion out of your evidences. Right? So it's always a critical, it is reflective, logical, and or sometimes it may be descriptive also, sometimes it is persuasive also, right? So in that way, you go forward in structuring your academic writing. So you, as a writer, you must adopt the role of a actually good teacher also that I believe, because when we teach in classroom, not only a teacher, actually when we go to analyze something, we go for elaborating something before a group of people, we actually the same point, all these points also we need to cover actually. So rather than give a complexities of information, we should stick to certain points, then we should try to give a well-organized synthesis of ideas, concepts, and then if it is an exploratory research, your design is exploratory, definitely you can give recommendation and contribute for a better understanding, better scope of doing research in some further areas that you explored in your study. So till now, I hope that many things will come to your knowledge. Now, in a nutshell, suppose if I ask you, evaluate your quality of writing. Just try to evaluate your quality of writing. What point you need to remember? First is, it is shaped around one clear research problem. Your academic writing, it should be shaped around clear research problem, and it should explain what the problem is from the outset, right? And if it is there in your writing, that means it's a quality. The quality is there. Your paper should tell the reader why the problem is important and why people should know about it. That point also should be there. You have accurately and thoroughly informed the reader what has already been done in that area, in this particular problem or others related to it, and noted important gaps in the research. So that reviewing the literature part and presenting a particular gap, and if you are in a position to address that gap in your writing, that part, if possible, you can mention. So what exactly has happened till now, that part you need to give a brief understanding on to your reader. You have provided evidence to support your argument that the reader finds convincing. Okay, so after that come to the part of giving supportive evidences to your arguments, your ideas that you have mentioned already, and try to convince, and the readers also should find it convincing also. So the paper, your writing should include a description of how and why particular evidence was collected and analyzed, and why specific theoretical argument or concepts were used. That part will be also there. So while developing a proposal, while developing a synopsis, while developing a particular research paper also, and the theoretical part, a particular theoretical arguments or concepts where it should be used by you, so that you can give you the idea. It's not that picking up certain theoretical background means that you are stick to that theory and you should do everything within that theoretical domain. No, rather picking up a particular theoretical framework sometimes help you to analyze your data within that by taking some references from that theoretical background. So that part also you can mention in your writing, right? So the description of how and why particular evidence was collected, how it is going to be analyzed, or how, in what way you analyzed, and why specific theoretical arguments and concepts are used by you. That part is, if it is there, then it's a quality writing. Okay, then next point you need to remember is that the paper is made up of, it should be made up of paragraphs, each containing only one controlling idea. Do not put so much information in one paragraph. So create sub-theme. So I told many of my scholars also that don't put so much things in one paragraph, rather break it down in 2-3 sub-theme and try to develop pattern. Suppose if it is a food culture of, suppose take the example of any tribal community of Assam, I'm giving you just the example. So the food culture of missing community of Assam, suppose if it's a paragraph, you can you can just break it down into many sub-themes, sub-paragraphs, like food in food and religion, the impact of religion, or food and its relation with how it is related to religious festivals or religious rituals, or how it is related to culture, food that is related to health or healthcare behavior, food that is related to suppose related to a particular festival. In that way you can break it down. Okay, so rather than giving so much information, controlling so much idea in one paragraph, make it break the paragraphs. So if it is there, definitely the reader will find it more convincing. Next is you indicate how each section of the paper addresses the research problem. This is important. Don't go aloof from your research problem throughout the writing. So try to stick with your problem and try to stick with the objectives of your writing, and each section of your writing should address that part. If it is there, you can evaluate yourself. Yes, it's good writing. So you have considered counter arguments or counter examples where they are relevant or irrelevant. Okay, so this part, why I'm telling you that when you considered to give some counter argument or counter examples, always think before giving that whether it is relevant or not. If it is found relevant, put it there. So arguments, evidence, and their significance have been presented also in the concluding part also. So evidence first in the body part also, you can put evidence, you can give all those arguments and etc. But if you find something very relevant, some very relevant kind of argument, or some very relevant, specific, significant kind of things that can help you to bring out a logical summary, you can put it in that summarized part also. So limitations of your research should be also there. You have to mention limitations of your research have been explained as evidence of the potential need for further study. Why we need to mention that limitation part? Because it will explain with evidences before your reader that there are some potential areas of further study that can be done in this particular research topic or in this particular domain. So the narratives that you are going to use, it flows in a clear, accurate, and well organized way. So I told you earlier also that the kind of research paper, the kind of research that you while going to define the structure, prepare the structure, the kind of design that you prepare, that yes, I'm going to adopt descriptive design, or I'm going to adopt exploratory or experimental or explanatory, or what kind of design I'm going to follow. Depending on that, actually, your data collection as well as data analysis, methods of data analysis, that will go accordingly with that design. So that will actually help you to create the structure of your writing, that whether you are going to just explain something as it is in a very descriptive way, or you are going to compare and contrast. Suppose you are writing in your design, that in your methodology, that it's a cross-sectional study where we are going to compare the results of 4 communities or 3 communities within this time frame, and our data will be limited to this aspect. So in that way, you can, while writing the paper also, that compare and contrast part should be highlighted. So the objectives and the methods, the analysis part, when these are supporting, these will support each other, you will have the clear idea what kind of approach actually I'm going to put forward here, what I'm going to apply here. So till now, I think I covered the structure of academic writing. After that, types of, when we talk about types of research paper, I already told you that it can be analytical. Research paper can be analytical, where you pose a question and then collect relevant data. It starts with posing question, start with the kind of idea why and how. Okay, so rather than what, right? So where you collect the relevant data from other researchers' analysis, and you try to give the different viewpoints. You focus on the findings and conclusion of other researchers done on the issue or topic, and make a conclusion, logical conclusion out of that, and compare it with your finding. So it's very important to stay neutral and not to show your own negative or positive position on that matter. So this is how analytical writing will go on. So it's a complex informative basis, many sources, good sources and necessary sources of research work, where you can draw several findings. You can draw that and analytically you can put in your paper. So you have to gather the opinions on your topic from different perspective. You do not recommend that this is good over this or this is reliable. You are not going to write this kind of thing, but you can definitely gather opinions on your topic from different perspective. So the first characteristics of analytical research, if you ask me what it will be, so I want to tell you that you are not going to stick with the historical part much here. I feel that rather than giving more importance on the historical growth and development part on that particular issue, try to give the current perspectives, ideas that are available on that particular topic or issue. But yes, if the whole essence of paper is based on giving the historical analysis, then you go for that. If your objective is that how it is evolved throughout the time space, then you go for that. Then there is no universal, though there is no universal template for an analytical paper, but definitely the becoming logical and consistent to what you are going to present, how you are going to give answer to the research question, that part you need to stick to that part. So it will start with an abstract at the beginning of your paper, then there will be in that abstract part, we all know that you introduce the problem, then the methods what you used for your for finding solution to that problem, and what you find. That part in a very brief paragraph, like 350 to 3 to 350 words, you can just have to mention, and depending on the demand of the requirement of the journal. So after that, an introduction part will be there before the main body or before the main study, before the main analysis, and at the end we have the conclusion. And the main body part actually it will be composed of all the tables of contents, the narratives, the analyses, the arguments, evidence, everything that you bring out from different sources. And the critical interpretation of sources could be also there in your analytical paper. So simply you put some agreeable or you can disagree to some particular information, but you don't need to write that this is I am disagree to that. Rather, the contrasting opinion, the similar opinion, similar finding, contrast finding, you can put it in a very realistic way to influence your judgment. Okay, so in that way it will go on. So while writing this kind of thing, carefully try to populate your essay, your writing with evidences. That part is important, and provide space for contrasting opinions. These 2 points remember while going to write something analytically. Populate your evidence and provide space for contrasting opinion. And keeping this 2 points in mind, you can organize the body of your essay. So descriptive, now coming to descriptive paper, like you are going to apply the descriptive approach. Suppose you are describing you are giving the description of a state of affair, description of a situation, object, people, group of people. So while analytical is fundamentally a little bit different from this descriptive kind of writing, because it will use fact and information already available and analyze by other researchers in order to give a critical evaluation of the material. But in descriptions, no doubt that critical part you can add, but you will more focus on giving the reader a general view of the subject of the study. Like the field where you work, you can explore the essence of the stated problem here. No doubt you must reach to a reasonable logical conclusion here also, but you will stick to give descriptions from their perspective, what you find in the field, what is spoken to you, what is given to you by the respondent. So when analytical paper often begins with how and why is that, I can say that descriptive begins with what is the situation, what is going on, what is this, or what is actually the meaning behind this, behind the phenomena, behind taking place, all these events, happenings, people, group, the language, all this. So this is the two kind of approaches you can include in your research paper writing. Then some paper may be persuasive, as I already told you. So while giving arguments in your paper, you can put the two sides of a controversial issue in your paper. No doubt it is aimed at getting the reader on one side of the point of your point of view. So persuasive papers, as I told you, like proposal. So persuasive papers are like you are trying to convince your reader on the side of your point of view. So you should include and cite findings and arguments of different researchers on both sides of the issue, but then favor one side over the other and try to persuade the reader of your side, that this is going to significantly help, that this will going to significantly enhance the domain of knowledge. The current knowledge will be enhanced if we will do this in this way. So in that way, you will try to persuade the reader of your side. So your argument shouldn't be too emotional though, but it still need to be supported with logical facts and statistical data. And descriptive or definition paper, where you are just sticking to describe the situation as it is. It solely depends on describing facts, objective arguments, without using any personal emotion or opinion of the author. Okay, so its purpose is to provide information. You should include facts from various sources, no doubt, but don't try to give argumentative explanation from your part, that this is better from that, or this should be, this part is clashing or contrasting with that. So in those kind of things are not necessary while you are just describing or defining a situation. Then when your approach is compare and contrast, as I told you, when you are comparing and contrasting the findings that you have taken from two different group of people, two different social context, social cultural context, or etc. You used to analyze the differences between the two viewpoints, differences between the two findings, differences that you have taken from different authors, different subjects or stories that you derived from other sources. And while going to put forward all those things, you can develop certain patterns also. You can develop certain patterns where the similarity you can include in one, and the dissimilarity or the contrast you can include one. So make sure to sufficiently describe both sides in the paper, and then move on to comparing and contrasting both thesis and supporting one. So contrasting one and the supporting one. And when your design is experimental, when you are going to analyze the cause-effect relationship in your paper, definitely reflect the effects and the causes. So here you need to describe how variables are related, or how findings, your consequences that you have derived from your study, how it is dependent on those constant variables, and it will help trace a range of results that could arise from a particular action or particular situation, and your readers will understand that. So based on all these approaches, you can develop your research papers. And when we talk about social science, within the domain of social science, as I told you, when experimental papers based on your experimental, if it is based on your experimental design, you aim to explain a certain outcome or phenomena, which is which will cover, which will include the the relation between dependent and independent variables. And sometimes it may be, your paper may be simply interpretative also, so where it requires you to use the knowledge that you have gained from a particular case study. And for example, about a particular situation, you want to go for in-depth interview, taking data by conducting in-depth interview or focus group, and you need to write the paper based on some established theoretical framework and use some valid supporting data which can back up your statement and conclusion. So interpretative kind of papers will be based on this, strictly on your observation. To a large extent, it will depend on your observation in case study which you conduct in a particular situation. And there will be some survey research paper also, where your paper demands the conduction of a particular survey that includes asking questions and respondents to the respondents. Sometimes these may come out as research note also. So in that way, we can go ahead in finding out different kind of different patterns of writing or developing a paper. So some points you need to always remember while developing papers, research papers, like the reader must know where from you obtain and analyze your result. So they need to know where from you obtain data, because the method you choose to affect your result, it should go with how you likely to interpret those results. There should be a synthesis relation between the two. The methods you obtain to affect your result, to analyze your result, and how you interpret those results, there should be a link. Then methodology part is very crucial, because if it is unreliable, what happens? An unreliable method, it produces unreliable result, and there will be misinterpretations of your findings. So that methodology part and all the evidences that you are going to put forward, the logical explanation part, that two parts should synchronize. The reader must understand that, okay, this is the correct methodology adopted to present this kind of finding, right? So that must be reflected in your writing. So your methodology section, it should make clear the reason why you choose a particular method or procedure, that I want to tell you. So if confusion is there, then the later part you will find it very difficult to put a logical explanation. So reader wants to know that the idea was collected or generated in a way that is consistent with accepted practices in that particular field of study. So that message should be conveyed to the reader. So the research method must be appropriate to and it should be synchronized. It should have the appropriate relation with the objectives of your study. The reader, after going through your academic writing, the reader must understand, okay, this is the objective, this is the methodology. Yes, they support each other, and through this sample size, through these methods, it will be the researcher will able to generalize and make recommendation based on this finding. Okay, so this methodology part is very important, as I want to tell you, that because it will help you to describe the ways in which way the data will impact your whole objective, the whole research problem, how your data will support, how your data is going to impact on that. So your whole interpretation is dependent on that. So it is important to always provide sufficient information to allow others to use or replicate the study. So that part is important. So this is what I discussed while writing a research paper using the primary data that you gather from your field study, or then comparing those primary data with the secondary sources, the data that you derive from secondary sources or literature review. Now, apart from that, there are review papers also. I often told my students, our students, we often discuss that try to develop papers from different approaches. Sometimes try to develop review papers. So now, what is review paper? It is a progress in a particular topic. You can say that you are reviewing certain paper and you are summarizing the current state of knowledge on that topic, available on that topic, and you are trying to create an understanding of the topic for your reader by discussing the findings in present research papers related to that particular topic. So in a review paper, the whole earlier steps definitely we are going to follow, but the writing pattern will be different. So first of all, you need to write the title of your paper and focus on using very specific word to just define your particular topic. Then cite the articles. Which are the articles that you are going to review? Then article identification should be also there, written by whom, where it is published, and all that. After that, again go for that introduction part, that why you have chosen these particular articles to be reviewed, and what particular idea you have derived, taken out from that, and you need to analyze this particular aspect. Then give a summarize of those articles, what is there in those articles, develop pattern, try to give the similar points of view, the contrasting point of view, give a critique of it, try to critique it, criticize, give a critical explanation of contrasting as well as what are the similarities we have find in that article, and then design a conclusion. Okay, so I'm making it short because time is also short. We have only our class up to 12 o'clock. Then book review is also there. I hope all of you know that it is book review. It is based on content, analyzing the content of that book, and where it may be a primary source. Book review may be a primary source. It may be opinion, reviewing certain opinions put forwarded in a book. So it can be a question you are addressing. You may be addressing a question. But yes, while starting book review, you need to first classify the genre, the kind of book, whether it is fiction, non-fiction, poetry, drama, academic book, or reference book, textbook, philosophical writing. What kind of books actually you are taking, that part should be mentioned. What kind of book it is actually you are going to review, that should be mentioned first. Then you relate the different chapters, try to give a finding of different chapters of that book in a critical way, and what kind of reliable, well documented information you can derive, you can draw from that book. That part you need to mention. So whether the author is able to give a convincing argument or not, whether the author is able to create a particular logical explanation on a particular issue by providing sufficient evidences or not, those parts you need to explain. And what every chapter addresses a issue in a particular way, what kind of issues are addressed and how logically it is presented. that part you can mention. Then there are perspective paper. So I actually before going to write a paper, or you also need to identify the particular journal where you are going to actually send it. So there are different journals which actually want to have perspective papers, research comments, research notes, etc. So there are journals like Indian Journal of Gender. Then EPW is also a journal where a magazine that they ask for this perspective and research comments. So that are also the kind of writing research paper, the kind of academic writing within your field of research. That could be a kind of academic writing. So in perspective paper, what you are going to do, you are going to present perspective, opinion, and comments on articles or different scholarly articles which express a personal opinion, your personal opinion, or a new perspective about existing research on a particular topic. So you develop a new perspective to look into the matter from a different angle. So these do not require you need to go stick with the original research, but you can draw the idea from magazines, from different writings, popular writings, even the research article, original research article also you can take help, and you can give your own perspective on that. So the object of study is to set the phenomena that the researcher observes. And the notion of a unit of study. So the unit of study, it refers to the level of granularity of the observation. So you observe the writings of different that are published in different journal, magazine, even newspaper, etc. And you develop your own researcher perspective, and you refer to the direction or orientation from your observation of the phenomena that you are going to that you have adopted, and you are going to present it. So it focus on perspective piece of writing, it focus on current advances and future directions on a particular topic. It may include the original data as well as your personal opinion. Then you can also, within academic writing, you can also go for developing research notes. So research notes are not full academic paper. These are not exactly similar with the research papers, but these are discussion notes, you can say, or seeking to advance a new idea, a new theoretical perspective, but it is more based on preliminary survey. It is more based on a preliminary kind of survey. Here I want to share one of my experience with you. When I was working in Margherita College long back in 2012 probably, I did a small survey on domestic violence and on women, reproductive women, and I picked up small data, not a very huge data, small data from the police station and judicial court of Margherita subdivision. Margherita, it is in Tinsukia district of Assam. Then I developed a paper. At that time I thought it was a research paper. Okay, then I sent it to Indian Journal of Gender Studies, and the feedback they gave to me, they told me that it's not a research paper exactly, it's a research note. You send us a research note, so there are certain problems in your note, so try to verify this. So at that time I was not aware what is research note. Then I tried to analyze what actually, how I made this research note. Then I come to know that okay, it seems like a preliminary survey report. It's not where I'm not comparing, contrasting, analyzing the data taken from different sources and try to present a logical explanation. No, I didn't do all that thing. I just present whatever I found from my survey. So then I realized, okay, so it's the note is a kind of discussion note actually. So it's seeking to advance a new idea, new perspective, or new approach in a particular area of study And it can be it can be a very short, it can be short as a single figure paper, and in such cases you require to give a short introduction describing the question, or if you have any hypothesis, or if you taken any research question, followed by the description of the method you use, and then you place your result section and conclusion. So research notes is it's a bit flexible actually, where you ensure to describe your methods and sources of sufficient data details that you derived from your survey, and then you can present it in that particular discussion. So it's a preliminary study, you can say, small description of unexpected and perhaps unexplained observations done in a particular special context, specified context or specified background, with a very short, it's a kind of short report of what you did, what you did as a survey, with a few illustrations, you can say. So it tends to be shorter, and sometimes it is different from article and this and research article and research paper. Okay, so it doesn't it shouldn't include all those explanation, comparison, critical analysis part, but it's demonstrating what you find actually. It's a kind of preliminary study. So you are, that means you are submitting the pilot data actually. So this is a note actually, a research note. It reflects the kind of study you have done, and it will actually give the academic field, it will convey the message to the reader that there are ample scope of doing further research in this particular area. Then we have research comments, commentary section. Many journals, there are many journals in social science where commentary section is there, where you can publish your commentaries. So it's forum where you can put your perspective on a particular topic that is under consideration of a journal. So commentary probably has in-depth knowledge. It will have in-depth knowledge of you in a particular topic, and you are here to present a new unique viewpoint on existing problem, along with the fundamental concept, the prevalent notions available on that particular concept, or if you want to discuss the implications of a newly implanted innovations in that particular problem. So a commentary may also draw attention to it can draw the attention to current advances and going on in that particular research problem, and it can speculate on future directions of that particular problem also. So how what is the future direction of a certain topic, particular topic? That may include the original data, your personal state of opinion also. So commentary may be critical commentary for the journal, of a particular journal who asked for, which is willing to publish the critical commentary. So it's the ideas and conclusion, the critical ideas of the researcher, as well as a conclusion made by him. So commentary will be a critical challenge or arguments you are putting forward to give a in-depth understanding on a particular topic, and you are eager to present a new unique viewpoint on the existing problem. So the methodological part will be definitely there. You can also put the theoretical framework there, and how you can try to mention that the focal article will depend on this interpretation. We will follow this interpretation while going to put the comments. So in that way, you can write. So there are many international journals as well as national journals also, which publish the commentary, research commentary. So you can go for it, like I told you, Indian Journal of Gender Studies, then some of the journal I used to send paper, like the Journal of Health Management, Indian Journal of, they also publish commentary, research commentary. So in that way, area specific, context specific ideas that you have drawn from your research, that is areas context specific, related to a specific context, that you can develop a research commentary on that. And you can give it to the journal. Sometimes we have sometimes we see journals who are asking for standpoint analysis or situational analysis. This is also a kind of the writing your social experiences. You can develop an account of writing of some shared experiences taking place at a particular time period within a particular domain. Like you can share something that is going on in the political domain of, suppose, a particular area, particular context, particular event, or particular movement, and you can share the experiences of the marginalized people, or by putting forward certain dominant social narratives given by them, forwarded by them, and you can just make a brief situational analysis on that. Those kind of writings are also asked by journals. Then we all know we have the policy papers. Actually, there are many. This is the last one I just tried to include in my discussion. Policy paper. This is the paper I am really interested. Recently, I gained interest in developing this kind of paper. It's a research piece of writing. It's a piece of research writing focusing on a specific policy issue that provides clear recommendations for the policy maker. So all the evaluative studies where you evaluate some things, the longitudinal studies, those study techniques you can apply here in developing policy papers. So you describe, there will be description of the context and importance of the problem. Definitely you will carefully define the problem, frame it as a specific question. So every step we will follow, like I have mentioned earlier, discussing a range of policy options and criteria. Give the criteria for judging or accepting or just picking up a certain policy choices, why you decided to evaluate this particular policy. So you have to mention that. Then your research and finding part, discussion part, and after that you can recommend the loopholes that you found during your research in that particular policy. You can recommend certain modification in that policy. So it's a research piece focusing on a specific policy issue that provides clear recommendation for the policy makers. So it will highlight the urgency and significance of solving certain issues that are going on in the implementation part of that policy. So you need to maintain objectivity here also, and while going to arriving at the findings, you can analyze both the quantitative as well as qualitative part of your data and bring out a careful conclusion, so that the data do not misinterpret with the main objective of your paper. Suppose you are going to evaluate the particular policy, how the policy was evolved, what was the objective of that policy, whether it is fruitful, it is successful in addressing those objectives in a particular context where, or particular group of people, among the particular group of people, universe of study which you picked up for your research. That part will be covered, and then trying to give the loopholes, the situations, the contextual evidences, what people are doing, how aware people are about that policy, then what recommendations you are supposed to add here to make it more possible so that people can reach and gain benefit from that. So the summarization part will definitely come up with your recommendation, with your in response to specific problems, and it will generate some criteria for evaluating further data that are also evaluating the data that you can derive from other places, other regions also. So it will explain the key assumptions that you considered in your study and prioritize. It will, your whole writing will prioritize the criteria you rely on to assess evidences. So this is a kind of paper where you can assess the feasibility, also the research feasibility, that what will be the future of doing certain research in this particular area, or how the policy, there is a certain scopes and certain understanding is there, so that the policy can be utilized or can be implemented in this way or that way, different way in different context. So your analysis will go in that way. So I hope I have covered so many things till now. It's time 11:38. So I hope that I can pick up certain points to make you aware of how to develop your academic structure of your academic writing, what points you need to be remembered, how to go with that, and how to prepare for developing a research paper based on your primary data. You can also develop review papers, you can also go for preparing research notes, and you can go for developing your perspective paper also, research perspective that are also published in different journal, and you can also go for preparing research comments also, which you can send to different journals. And there are some important part I skip, like the referencing and formatting part. We have another class on that, so that will be covered by another resource person. So I hope I have touched the points. Now it's up to the moderator. Hello.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. This has been a very wonderful session. So I hope our participants have learned a lot during this session. So I, Rinko Hazarika, being the moderator of this session, on behalf of all the participants, I thank ma'am. However, one or two questions are there. I will just put forward those
I can
questions.
see also in the chat box.
One question.
Yes, I can
Yes,
see in the chat box. Yes, I can address.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Actually,